Between two castles, so met King Ludwig, clearly the love child of the castle of King Ludwig, and between two cities, a game incidentally that I just reviewed in my previous video. This is very similar to Between Two Cities, really, with a Ludwig and castle theme, but it is the bigger brother or sister of Between Two Cities. The same engine, but a lot more complexity when it comes to scoring and what you can do with the tiles. But if you play Between Two Cities, then pretty much it's the same game with only 2 rounds instead of 3. Build a castle and then you score differently. So right there, that was an easy intro. But suppose that you don't know that game, I'm gonna show you in general how you play Between Two Castles on Met King Ludwig. But before that, I want to show you something. I usually don't rave about the storage, like how the box has been designed to hold the components. That's not a big deal unless it is. This is a really smart storage system. Also, the components fit so well in there that you can do that. You can shake them like that and be assured that the components did not move. They're still where they should be. Because, well, when you have the player aid and the score pad and the rule book, but what really matters is these two holders here, these two storage trays that hold the components and basically make the game set up already, set up and ready to go. You simply take out these two trays, lift the lids, there you go. Assign each player one of these tokens here to indicate their castle, or I should say assign 2 to each player. Like in Between Two Cities, each player is gonna be building 2 castles, or 2 structures, one on the left and one on the right. The one on the left together with the player on the left, the one on the right together with the player on the right, and at the end you score each castle separately, and each player scores the lowest castle, and then highest score among the lowest values wins the game. Each castle will have a starting throne room, and they have slightly different symbols as you can see here because they will give you chances of scoring extra in different ways. Then you take these stacks here, and basically each player will have a stack of 9 tiles. Again, just to tell you how cool the storage system is, you don't have to worry about like I can't fit my fingers there and to get out the stack of tiles. You push on one side and the tile and the stack of tile pops up, because as you can see, that is the way it has been designed precisely so that you can remove the stacks that easily. So each player will receive a stack of 9 tiles. Each player selects 2. This is set aside. Then these tiles are placed in the castles. You pass them. You pass the stack to the next player. Receive that one. Select 2 more and continue like this until you're done. Until you exhausted their hand, then you receive another hand and you are good to go. Now, as you build, it's a little more complicated, there are a couple more rules than in Between Two Cities. You still have to place things orthogonally, not like hanging out like there. Now, the important thing is that you have to think of the castles as if you're looking at a dollhouse, the facade. So everything that is here is at the same level, everything is above the throne room, is upstairs, and everything that is underneath is underground. Rooms will usually, most of the rooms go above ground, and here you have a symbol that tells you what kind of room that is. For example, this is the food, this is a living room with that symbol there, then you have utility rooms, corridors, etc, etc, etc. These rooms are underground, and as the name says, they can only go underground. And then we have, say, sleeping room here. Outdoors, they have a light blue edge, and you cannot build anything on top of that because that wouldn't make any sense. However, you can put them on top of stuff, so you can have a garden on top of a tower, for example. And then you have corridors. Corridors are the only kind of rooms that can be put above ground or underground freely. And so after a while, maybe your castle will look a little bit like this, for example. There you go. This is the general idea. However, there are also bonuses to be acquired during the game, again, differently and with more complexity than in between two cities. When you place a third of a kind of room, regardless of location, the third dungeon, the third living room, the third food room, whatever, you get the corresponding bonus. So, for example, for placing 3 food, you immediately get to draw 5 extra tiles, and together with your teammate to place 1 in the castle where you just acquired that bonus. Living room, you get to place an attendant. There are these little cute people here that will sit in your throne room and will allow you to score extra at the end of the game. For example, this one will give you 1 extra point for each torch in your castle. This one will give you 1 extra point for each sword in your castle, and we're referring here to the symbols that the tiles have in the top right corner. The bonus for having 3 utility rooms is you get to draw 3 cards from this deck here, and you keep 1, and these cards will give you ways to score extra bonuses, to score extra points at the end of the game. And outdoor, sleeping, and corridor, they will give you fountain, towers, and grand foyer respectively. These are called special rooms. Fountain, towers, and grand foyer. Fountains are just worth 5 points. That's simple. Tower, 1 point per level under the tower. And grand foyer, 1 point for each room surrounding it. And then also, if you have 3 underground or downstairs rooms, you can choose any other bonus. If you have 5 copies of the same kind of room, then you get to place a special room, which again, special rooms are fountains, towers, and grand foyer. So this is the general idea, but then of course we want to know how the castle tiles score. Each throne room has its own way of scoring. If you place certain room adjacent to it in certain locations, as indicated by the diagram there. Other things. Food. Each food room wants to be next to another kind of room. For example, this food is redundant because it wants to be next to other food. This one wants to be next to utility room. Food scores 2 points per room that he wants to be next to, right above or right below, as indicated by the diagram there. That's how food scores, by being above or below the kind of room that he wants to. Living room also wants to be next to a specific kind of thing, and different living tiles will show you that. I don't see any living tiles right now, but here we go. This one wants to be next to downstairs, for example, or this one wants to be next to outdoors. So if they're next to, then they get that amount of points. Utility likes to be connected to a specific kind of thing. This one, for example, likes to be connected to a sleeping room. That means that they don't have to be in a straight line, but they have to be in a line that connects to the utility room. So suppose there was a utility room that I showed you earlier that likes to be, oh there you go, likes to be connected to sleeping rooms, then that would be 2 points because it's connected that way. But again, it doesn't have to be in a straight line. It can snake around as long as you want, as long as it's always orthogonally connected, going back to the original one that needs to be scored. Outdoors simply likes to be in the same place with another kind of room. So for example, this chicken coop will give you 1 point per utility anywhere in your castle. Sleeping, here it is, sleeping likes variety. You like to go to sleep after a good day spent with all these things, so you'll have 4 points. It was worth 4 points if there are all of these other kinds of rooms in your castle, regardless of location. Corridor likes to be next to a specific symbol. Again, we're looking at the symbol in the top right corner here. As you can see, we got different ones: swords, torches, mirrors, paintings. So that's what corridor wants. Downstairs wants to be above or below a specific kind of things. Say, for example, this one, above or below other downstairs things. This one above or below corridors, and so on and so forth. So this is the general idea. Build 2 castles, so trying to score all these things. Scoring the castles, because each room scores separately. It's a little bit of a bear. It's good if everybody does it at the same time, but there's still a chance of making a mistake. So for each type of room, you score each room individually, you get the total, then you total the totals, and who watches the watchers, who totals the totalers. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, because it can be a little bit disorienting. Scoring is it's a process. But after you're done with the process, you have the score for the 2 castles that you built. Score the lowest, highest score wins. Between 2 castles, so Mad King Ludwig, definitely the bigger brother of Between 2 Cities. Obviously, even the title tells us that. And, well, more complex. Well, actually being almost the same game, but so much more complex in terms of scoring and different things that you can do and the bonuses that you can achieve. So my comments for Between 2 Castles, so Mad King Ludwig, are almost the same as for Between 2 Cities, with a difference that is, I like it very much. I possibly like it better than Between 2 Cities, but the people I played it with, not as much. And that means my daughters, that are now 7 and 9. I don't have game night in these days of deadly pandemic, and so I play with my family. I don't see my wife enjoying this game at all. I think she could play with some effort Between 2 Cities, but this one just too much stuff going on. And even I, that can play some fairly complex games, sometimes I would feel a bit, I wouldn't say confused about what I should be doing, but how to do it, how to prioritize. It felt like there were so many paths to victory that either you got stuck on 1 or 2 at the beginning and you were trying to build upon those, or you were just constantly reacting to things. And yes, it's great that if you can place a room that will score you something because it's in 1 column, and because it's connected, and because the symbol in top right corner does something else. It's great. But frankly, you cannot plan that all that much, so it feels like really good scoring comes from good play, but excellent scoring comes from luck, or at least that is my impression. So I liked it. I liked trying to do all these things, but ultimately when I did well, I wasn't all that sure that it really was me, or I just got a bit lucky there. My daughters didn't like this game nearly as much as Between 2 Cities, precisely because they felt like they couldn't really build anything relevant. Meaning, they would get stuck trying to do one thing, and that was not enough to score them enough points. Between 2 Cities, I would say that my daughters and I won kind of like evenly. Here, I constantly won every time by a large margin because they were good at doing 1 or 2 things, so they would score well enough. But in this game, that's precisely, well, not enough. You need to score a lot of different things. One pattern, one thing that will allow you to score will exhaust its scoring ability, its ability to generate points after a couple of tiles, and then you have to start something else. Again, the real strategy is in intersecting the different things that can score. So I think this is going to work very well at game night with my adult friends when I will start having game night again. Not anytime soon, but hey, this game is here to stay. So He'll be here. He'll be here when we have game night. Friends of mine that are watching this. So I enjoyed it, not as much as Between Two Cities, but because of the specific situation, which is I played it with daughters that did not enjoy it as much. Per se, I think it's a fun game. It is just more strictly, more specifically, an adult game rather than a family game. And so maybe in times of social distancing, it has a little less use and it's simpler, more streamlined, the little brother Between Two Cities, but it's a fine game. It's a fine game. More complex, more challenging, less of a game for families, but with a lot of interesting elements there, and definitely production values just stunning, absolutely stunning. So Between Two Castles, so Mad King Ludwig. I enjoyed it. I can't wait to play with my adult friends because I think you'll enjoy it even more.